Wouldn't you want someone to tell your story? Ultimately, it's the best proof there is that we mattered. Hello, and welcome, esteemed friends, to Motive 8 Flow. We are delighted and deeply grateful that you have chosen to join us today, allowing us to guide you through another insightful exploration of the mind and the emotional world. Our mission here, always, is to bring you knowledge and illumination that can foster profound personal transformation, helping us all navigate the complex currents of life with great wisdom, peace, and resilience. Today, we turn our attention to one of humanity's most fundamental activities, storytelling, and how this simple act holds the key to unlocking extraordinary healing and reconstructing our very sense of self. We invite you now to settle your minds, open your hearts, and contemplate the undeniable therapeutic power of narrative. Beloved viewers, at the heart of our well-being lies the story we tell ourselves about our lives. As one powerful reflection reminds us, what is life from the moment we are born, but an ongoing struggle to matter, at least to someone? Narrative-based medicine and therapeutic approaches recognize that the act of storytelling is crucial. It is not merely about recounting facts. It is a sacred process of honoring the patient's story, the clinician's story, and acknowledging the shared narrative. This sharing creates new meaning, deeper understanding, and vital connection between us. When we engage in narrative, we acknowledge the absolute uniqueness of each individual. We validate their life story and foster empathy with genuine interest and concern. In many contexts, this approach aligns seamlessly with the concept of whole health, viewing the individual not as a collection of symptoms, but as a holistic being whose narrative is intrinsically tied to their recovery. Indeed, the sources confirm that stories possess an inherent, undeniable power. Narratives connect us to one another, and crucially, they help us to heal. They are, in their purest form, whole health conversations. Consider this. Narrative identity refers to the internal, ever-evolving life story that we construct. The story integrates our past experiences, our present reality, and our projected future, ultimately providing our lives with unity, profound meaning, and clear purpose. When we face mental health challenges, this core sense of self often suffers a devastating loss. The crucial, fundamental task in recovery then becomes the reconstruction of our narrative identity. This means forming what is called an agentic identity, where the illness is redefined, viewed as only one facet of a complex, multifaceted, and evolving self, a self that intentionally chooses to pursue well-being and recovery. This process is fundamentally characterized by personal transformation and adaptive growth. It is a realization that our stories are dynamic, ever-changing, and constantly evolving. They are provisional, open to revision, allowing us to intentionally change and evolve our narratives in the pursuit of mental health and psychological well-being. The narrative approach affirms that the individual is a self in process, perpetually changing and adapting to internal and external demands. The scientific case for expressive writing. Many of us are indisputably pressed for time, especially those in caring roles, yet the brief incorporation of story into our daily lives can be deeply impactful. For individuals seeking personal transformation, the act of expressive writing has emerged as a cornerstone of mental and physical healing, a low-cost, potent method of relieving pain and symptoms associated with chronic illnesses. Decades of research have thoroughly documented the healing effects of writing, championed by researchers like James W. Pennebaker. This extensive work has proved what many have long suspected through keeping a journal or diary. If we can manage to create a cohesive personal narrative of our lives, and if we can effectively link our emotions to specific events, we gain the extraordinary power to take control over how those emotions and events influence our existence. The benefits of writing about important personal experiences in an emotional way are remarkable. Even dedicating a short time, as little as 15 minutes over the course of 3 days, has been shown to bring about measurable improvements in both mental and physical health. This finding has been consistently replicated across various demographics, including age, gender, culture, social class, and personality type. Writing serves the function of organizing complex emotional experiences. Using advanced text analysis programs, it was discovered that those who benefit most from this practice tend to utilize a high number of positive emotion words, a moderate amount of negative emotion words, and critically, they show an increase in their use of cognitive words over the days they write. This strongly suggests that the actual formation of a narrative is the critical element, serving as a powerful indicator of good mental and physical health. When we disclose deeply personal experiences through writing, immediate changes occur in our body's physiological response. Studies have shown significant drops in blood pressure and heart rate following confessions. Furthermore, research suggests that writing may bolster immune function and enhance our capacity to cope with painful incidents. Experts have measured improvements in immune function, the action of T lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and other immune markers in the blood, demonstrating that self-expressive writing makes deep inroads into our biological defenses. We see these measurable benefits in 4 key areas: reported physical health, psychological well-being, physiological functioning, and general functioning. The impact of this inner work is so profound that the number of doctor office visits has been shown to be reduced through the process of writing. Some studies have found that writing about stressful experiences can lead to symptom reduction in patients with chronic conditions, such as asthma or rheumatoid arthritis. In one powerful experiment, writing about feelings after a traumatic event even resulted in physical wounds healing faster. Participants assigned to journal about their feelings had accelerated healing times compared to those instructed to avoid writing about their emotions. Understanding the brain's emotional shift, let us delve deeper into the neurology of this process. A brain imaging study conducted by psychologists at UCLA revealed a fascinating mechanism. Expressing feelings, whether through verbal communication or written words, actively reduces activity in the amygdala, which is often referred to as the brain's central emotional hub. Simultaneously, this process engages the thinking brain. This specific shift in brain activity makes intense emotions like sadness, anger, and pain feel less overwhelming and less intense. For those who struggle with chronic worry, studies found that simply writing about feelings before a stressful task helped their brains perform more efficiently. Their brains showed less intense activity and performed the required task using fewer cognitive resources. Writing, therefore, acts as a form of self-directed neuroplasticity, a way to beneficially rewire our neural pathways by engaging the thinking brain and the calming parasympathetic nervous system. This internal organization is crucial. Researchers have noted that actively holding back or inhibiting our thoughts and feelings is, in fact, hard work. Over time, the heavy burden of inhibition gradually undermines the body's defenses. Like other pervasive stressors, this inhibition negatively affects immune function, the cardiovascular system, and even the delicate biochemical workings of the brain and nervous systems. In short, excessive holding back of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors places us all at risk for both major and minor diseases. Writing offers a voice when we feel we cannot speak to anyone. It is a way to purge fear and pain, to explore and express our complex emotional worlds. It serves as a tangible, real action when the world feels overwhelmingly chaotic, reclaiming your narrative identity. Mental illness often undermines our capacity to tell our life story effectively. Crises of identity, often felt as personal loss or trauma, disrupt the coherence of our narrative, which is central to our sense of self. The therapeutic purpose of storytelling is to construct a meaningful narrative of self and disorder that actively promotes recovery, moving the individual toward empowerment and agency. We must recognize that our individual life story, as perceived by others, is limited to our actions, while our internal self-definition has much greater scope. However, even this inner narrative is not objective. It is a figurative and symbolic account, conditioned by biology and prior experience. When this internal narrative becomes dysfunctional, often labeled as a problem-saturated narrative in therapy, the goal becomes the reconstruction of a preferred narrative identity. This pursuit of well-being, despite chronic challenges, is defined as mental health recovery, a personal journey of healing and transformation focused on the fulfillment of potential, not just the absence of illness. This journey is non-linear and multidimensional, characterized by adaptive growth. It is a conscious, intentional, and self-directed endeavor, relying on personal strengths, hope, and valued goals. It builds a growing sense of agency, transforming the individual from a passive self to an active agent in their own life. Agency is the feeling of being in control of one's life, and higher levels of it in our narrative identity are strongly associated with better mental health and psychological well-being. This concept suggests that individuals can be viewed as complex adaptive systems, intelligent, meaning-making, and proactive selves, in a constant state of flux and becoming. The hero's journey as a blueprint for transformation. The core quest narrative that empowers recovery is beautifully encapsulated in the hero's journey, an enduring literary metaphor. This archetypal quest describes a universal pattern of transformation and return. It is not merely a blueprint for epic tales, but a powerful metaphor for our personal growth and healing. The journey reflects the internal process of confronting our struggles, embracing transformation, and integrating newfound wisdom and strength back into our lives. The stages mirror the emotional work we undergo when facing profound challenges. The hero's journey unfolds in distinct stages, offering a path for the protagonist, the individual in recovery, to shift from a victim identity to that of a hero. 1. The call to adventure. The protagonist recognizes a pressing life issue that must be faced and decides to embark on the journey. In the context of narrative coaching, this is where we clarify the journey's direction and practice necessary skills. 2. Crossing the threshold. The protagonist leaves the familiar comfort zone and engages fully in the recovery journey. This stage involves choosing the underlying beliefs that will best support the upcoming efforts. 3. Road of trials. The protagonist is deeply engaged and rigorously tested in the process. Here, the focus is on selecting the dominant attitudes that will sustain the effort. 4. Setback. The protagonist faces a significant obstacle that must be overcome to continue making progress. We identify a possible main setback and consider potential strategies for overcoming it. 5. Rising action. The protagonist is immersed in the journey, balancing many competing demands. This step focuses on managing the various life roles we hold and considering how to balance them on the path to recovery. 6. Climax. The protagonist must overcome their main personal limitation to achieve success. This is the high point of the story, requiring identification of the primary internal obstacle and developing a plan to address it. 7. The return. Changed by the experience, the protagonist shares the learnings with others. This final stage prompts reflection on the lesson learned and consideration of how to use this new knowledge beyond the immediate challenge. This framework allows us to view challenges not as deviations, but as essential steps toward transformation and growth. Archetypes as guides in the inner world. Within these healing stories, archetypes, universal symbols and characters that resonate across time and culture, serve as crucial guides. They tap into a shared psychological language. The wounded healer represents the person who transforms deep pain or trauma into wisdom, using that experience to help others. Their strength is derived from vulnerability and compassion. The mentor provides guidance, wisdom, and essential support to the hero. In our personal journeys, the mentor may be a supportive friend, a therapist, or even an inner voice of wisdom that emerges precisely when it is most needed. The shadow embodies parts of ourselves we often try to repress, unresolved trauma, fears, and unacknowledged emotions. True healing necessitates facing the shadow, bringing this hidden pain into the light, and integrating it into our understanding of self. The trickster introduces disruption and unpredictability, challenging the status quo and forcing us outside our comfort zone. The trickster reminds us that not all growth is linear. Sometimes it arrives through surprise, chaos, or humor. By recognizing and identifying with these archetypal roles, we gain vital insight into where we currently stand on our journey and what internal resources we need to call upon next. For instance, the warrior archetype offers attributes like courage, determination, skill, and discipline, which we can intentionally draw upon to overcome challenges. Practical applications in clinical and personal life. Whether we are clinicians or individuals seeking deeper insight, the sources provide specific, structured ways to incorporate narrative into our lives. For the clinician's mind and practice. Clinicians who are perpetually pressed for time can pause and incorporate story through several key practices. 1. Generous listening. We commit to listening with our entire awareness for the first 2 minutes of any clinical encounter. This involves sitting, establishing clear eye contact, and showing up fully with our whole self. We might begin with the transformative whole health question. Tell me your story. Yes, what brings you here today? And equally important, what truly matters to you? We must listen fully before moving to the computer, before deciding the next steps, and certainly before attempting problem solving or solution finding. We pause to truly be present with the patient, their story, and our own concurrent emotional experience. 2. Close looking. For 2 minutes, intentionally refrain from taking notes. Instead, we look into the patient's eyes, keenly observe their body language, and notice how they physically hold themselves. We perceive them with our complete attention. We remain acutely aware of our own body language, perhaps mirroring the patient gently to increase connection, leaning in to convey attention, and responsively reacting to both verbal and nonverbal cues of comfort. 3. Parallel chart. When writing the patient's chart, we intentionally include 2 to 3 full sentences of pure narrative. This narrative describes essential aspects of patient's situation, explicitly refraining from the use of numbers or medical abbreviations. For the clinician's own human experience, narrative work is equally vital for the caregiver's well-being. We must reflect on our own story and our whole health self within medicine. 1. Reflective writing exercise. Allowing yourself to be an I. For 2 to 3 minutes after an encounter, perhaps during a break or before sleep, we write about our subjective emotional experience of interacting with that patient. We ask, what did I feel? Did I feel emotionally drawn to them or distanced from them? Did their story resonate with any of my own life experiences? 2. Creative writing exercise. Portrait of a patient. For 2 to 3 minutes, we describe a patient in as much detail as we can recall. We explore what they physically looked like. What did we perceive when we looked into their eyes? What was the quality of their voice? What emotions did we sense were present? How did they walk, sit, or stand? And what gestures they make with hands? Sharing narratives with colleagues. Stories are powerful vectors for connection and mutual support among professionals. 1. Collegial storytelling. We arrange to share a meal with a fellow clinician or a small group. During this time, take turns, allowing everyone 2 to 3 minutes of uninterrupted time to share one story of a memorable patient. We explore what aspects of the encounter, or the patient themselves, stuck with us, and we tell that story openly. 2. Narrative medicine group. We might arrange a monthly gathering during a convenient time, reading a poem or short piece of prose together. The group can discuss the reading, respond to a related writing prompt, and share the writing they created. For individual growth and healing. For our personal healing journeys, writing is a salve, a tool that opens our minds and hearts to the deep things hidden within us. It helps us understand where, why, and how we have formed destructive attachments, enabling us to redirect that energy toward healthier ends. Writing allows us to get in touch with what is often hidden from our conscious awareness, be it the reason behind a persistent issue, a difficult compulsion, or a chronic pain we wish would simply dissipate. 3 essential ways to start therapeutic writing. 1. Write every day. As recommended by authors in the field, we can dedicate time every morning to writing longhand. This serves as a vital tool for processing the mind's chatter, which allows us to feel calmer and often leads to unexpected answers. 2. Journaling. This technique includes keeping a gratitude journal. Science has consistently demonstrated that the practice of gratitude carries significant mental and physical benefits. We might write down 3 to 5 things we are grateful for, either first thing in the morning or before we go to sleep. Writing longhand, using a pen or pencil on paper, forces the brain to process information differently than typing, promoting comprehension and retention. 3. Brain drain stream of consciousness writing. This exercise is wonderfully simple. We grab 2 pieces of paper and a pen, then write down every thought that comes to mind until both pages are entirely filled. The goal is to capture thoughts in real time as they unfold, without waiting, editing, or second-guessing. We simply allow the words to flow, even if the thought is, "I do not know what to write about right now." When we write about an event, situation, or relationship that affected us, we must write freely, ideally continuing for at least 20 minutes without stopping. Crucially, we should not worry about grammar, punctuation, or how things sound. The goal is simply to write and see what emerges. We must write about both the event and the emotions surrounding that event. The power of writing is further enhanced when we read our work aloud and process it with others. The ability to tell our story often gives us the very first opportunity to truly understand it. Many individuals report that they did not know what they were going to write until the words appeared, a phenomenon suggesting the writing taps deeply into the unconscious mind. Healing through a written word occurs when we learn about ourselves and fully open ourselves to the profound healing power within. The transformation of identity. Mental health recovery is fundamentally a pursuit of psychological well-being. Our personal stories about our lives are a strong predictor of this well-being. In fact, narrative identity has incremental validity in research, showing a stronger relationship with mental health than common predictors like gender, income, or personality traits. Constructing narrative identity is an active process involving narrative processing. This is how we filter life experiences through a template, selecting and plotting our lives using narrative devices such as characters, goals, imagery, and underlying themes. The individual's point of view, whether we see ourselves as the agent or the victim, is critically important. How we make sense of an experience and subsequently act upon it emerges directly from that point of view. Optimal mental health is associated with transformational narrative processing, where we openly explore difficult life experiences, find a positive ending to those challenges, and intentionally grow from the experience. This is distinct from ruminative processing, where the individual is unable to relinquish old goals and selves, often remaining stuck in problem-saturated narratives. Narrative therapy is a powerful approach that facilitates personal empowerment by helping us reconstruct our own stories. It allows clients to articulate, identify, and redefine experiences, aligning their personal narratives with their deepest strengths and core values. This shift moves the focus away from problem-saturated narratives toward preferred stories, which immediately fosters a sense of autonomy and agency. By externalizing our challenges, we learn to see our problems as separate entities from ourselves. The process of deconstruction systematically breaks down complex, overwhelming narratives into smaller, more manageable parts. The unique outcomes technique encourages us to identify and pursue positive alternatives within our life stories, fostering an optimistic path toward recovery. The sources remind us that the only way through pain is to go directly through it, to absorb, to probe, and to understand exactly what the pain is and what it means. Nothing that happens to us, not even the most terrible shock, is unusable. Everything must somehow be built into the very fabric of the personality. By employing various writing forms, poetry, journaling, nonfiction, list-making, we intentionally use the pain in our lives to further develop the fabric of our personal identity. We seek to find order in the events that have occurred, using writing as a form of powerful self-analysis, giving form and sense to what has profoundly affected us. Whichever form it takes, writing carries immense power to heal us and help us grow. The complex adaptive system of self. When we view the self as a complex adaptive system, we understand it as intelligent, proactive, and continuously evolving, underpinned by non-linear dynamical processes. Personal growth and transformation are inherent in the processes of the self. Recovery is aligned with this perspective, recognizing that psychopathology often represents a dynamic system state of equilibrium, where our habitual patterns of functioning interfere with our daily lives and undermine well-being. For true adaptive growth to occur, This system must be destabilized, allowing old functional patterns to be replaced or altered. Optimal functioning requires a turbulent balance between stability and instability, where we are agile and flexible, trying novel responses to find the most adaptive state to meet environmental demands. Intentional change theory provides a model for sustainable personal change aligned with this adaptive growth. The central goal is to attain a desired ideal self, our preferred narrative identity, in the context of pursuing a valued life outcome. The process requires a shift from the current, undesired state of being, which functions as a negative emotional attractor, toward the desired ideal self, which acts as a positive emotional attractor. Metaphorically, these attractors can be explained as life magnets. The current self is a life magnet that repeatedly pulls us in a habitual direction. The aim of this work is to create a powerful, new ideal self-life magnet to replace the old, unwanted pattern. The reflexive art of narrative coaching. Narrative coaching is a person-centered, experiential approach that facilitates identity reconstruction, helping us revise our narratives to gain fresh perspectives and pursue new possibilities. It raises our awareness of choices, allowing us to intentionally author the multiple stories that constitute our identity. A core technique in this coaching is reflexive questioning. This differs from reflective thinking, which happens after action. Reflexivity occurs as we investigate our interactions while they happen, allowing us to think about our belief systems and make new connections. It encourages us to question our assumptions, prejudices, habitual actions, and values. If we were to translate the principles of the hero's journey and intentional change theory into practice, such as through a coaching model or serious game, we would use a sequence of reflexive questions at each challenge step. This involves deeply considering: 1. How would my ideal self address this challenge? 2. How is that response different from the way I would currently approach this challenge? 3. What specific qualities or strengths do I possess that I could draw upon to meet this challenge? 4. What archetypes and inner attributes, like the warrior or the sage, could I draw upon to meet this challenge? 5. Based on this discussion, what specific action can I take right now to address the challenge? This iterative process of self-inquiry, coupled with applied mindfulness skills, promotes transformational narrative processing. By experimenting with agentic responses, that is, acting from the perspective of our ideal self, we can intentionally shift our identity from feeling like a victim to embodying the role of an active agent. This is the mindset of the everyday hero, possessing the adaptive capacity to overcome difficulties and achieve success in our recovery journey. The crucial role of community and connection. The journey of healing is rarely solitary. Storytelling is a powerful mechanism for building connection and community. When stories of resilience and recovery are shared, they instill profound compassion and hope in others, powerfully demonstrating that overcoming challenges is genuinely possible. In group settings, the ability to share personal narratives and receive empathetic listening and thoughtful response helps participants gain sufficient honesty to look openly at their inner self. It also helps foster enough objectivity to view a feeling or behavioral pattern from an entirely different perspective. This experience of shared reflection often provides the self-confidence necessary to accept and understand difficult issues, allowing for a more thorough processing than ever before. Shared narratives foster connections that dramatically reduce feelings of isolation and promote mutual understanding among those with similar experiences. This exchange empowers individuals, offering insights into effective coping strategies. As we articulate our journeys, we contribute to a reduction in self-stigma, enhance self-esteem, and reinforce resilience, transforming our identities beyond the limitations of mental health challenges. The therapeutic bond, a fundamental aspect of effective healing, is strengthened when therapists convey complex ideas through relatable narratives and metaphors. This creates a safe space for clients to explore and reshape their emotional landscape. Furthermore, including recovery narratives and clinician training enhances empathy among healthcare providers and helps reduce stigmatizing attitudes. Ultimately, whether we are articulating our stories through spoken word, private journaling, or creative writing, we are engaging in a process that is vital for psychological well-being. The power of storytelling lies in its ability to validate our lived experiences, celebrate the multifaceted nature of our identity, and forge connections that are critical for genuine recovery. It helps us make sense of trauma and loss, transforming our pain into a shared narrative that encourages profound healing. We are all continually striving to find order in the things that have happened to us, seeking to use our writing as a powerful form of self-analysis. By embracing the transformative power of our personal narrative, we give form and sense to what has affected us, laying the foundation for a future defined not by past struggles, but by our infinite potential for adaptive growth, resilience, and true well-being. We sincerely thank you, dear viewers, for engaging your minds and emotions with us today as we explored the powerful healing potential locked within your unique life story. We hope that this deep dive into narrative identity and expressive writing has offered you pathways to recognize and embrace the hero within your own journey. If you felt this discussion resonated with your emotional world or offered you valuable insights into your own process of personal transformation, please take a moment to show your support. Like this video, leave a thoughtful comment below sharing your perspectives on the power of story, and subscribe to Motive 8 Flow so we may continue to bring light to the complexities of the mind. Remember this profound truth, esteemed friends. Although many of us might instinctively be drawn to simply eliminate the pain in our lives, those who constructively learn how to use that pain are often far healthier than those who do not. May you embrace your own quest, harness the chaos of change, and recognize that every challenge you face is simply a step toward magnificent transformation. Until next time, keep flowing toward your highest potential.